testing the spool of wire. Again, we're going to use a Megometer or Megometer, and they give us the readings on the wire themselves of what the factory reading on this spool is. And you can see, if I get my camera in the right spot, we're looking for a resistance of 26.3 ohms. And so I will put the multimeter on first, and we're going to check the resistance between the black and white wire first, and make sure that we have a similar reading. And so you can see our connections are made, and then it's dropping down a little bit. We're at 27.7, so we're a little bit higher. We're supposed to be within about 10%, and so we can be anywhere then from about 28 to 24 and be okay. Now it's dropped down to 26.9. Some of that's probably going to change once we get the wire off the spool again too. So that's the other thing I want to make sure to mention real quick. We're going to be doing these tests a few times. Once while the wire is still on the spool and is still spooled up. Once after we get it into the floor. And then again after we get the tile on top. And so all of that is to make sure that we didn't nick or break the wire. And so I'll go on and leave the black one on. Now we should get an out of range on the two, just to make sure that we're not getting any kind of a short in the system. And so again, you can see out of limit. Let me make sure the two wires aren't touching, and it'll be fine. The other thing that we want to do while I have the multimeter out is we want to check the resistance on the floor sensors. Schluter wants me to put 2 floor sensors on the job, and so that's what we're going to do. One is a backup, so we only hook one up to the thermostat. And so we'll see how close they are. This one's reading 11.87. I'm going to switch to the other thermostat, and we'll see how similar of a reading we get on this one. And again, we just put one. There isn't a right or wrong. In other words, the leads aren't polarized, so we just have to hook a red and a black up to each one. And so there's that one. The next thing for Schluter, we're going to get this big guy out. What this thing does is it's going to send about 10,000 watts through the system. We want it to do that to make sure, again, we're looking for nicks in the wire. And so at this stage, we're going to go back to our white and then the neutral wire. And we don't want to touch them. And we'll just hold the thing down. Put it on 1,000 volts. And we'll just let it run. You can see how it ranged up. And it just climbs until it gets to the maximum voltage. If it has a premature failure, then it'll stop at whatever that number is. So we're looking for I or infinity. So that's the first round of testing that we do. I'll do another video probably after the whole floor is grouted. I'm not going to do the intermediate test, but we know if this test passes and the third test passes, that the second test will also pass. I am going to perform all 3 tests just for the sake, like I say, of simplicity. We're not going to probably do a video on that one. I just want to show how we do it. And this is how we get the full 15-year warranty from Schluter. Installing the wire into the heat mat is pretty simple. Again, we want to maintain 3 stud spacing so we have even heat. And you can see we're using a grout float to help push the wire into the mat. The grout float just helps push it in a little bit. I'm going to come down low here. You can actually see that the top of the wire is locked in below the top of the underlayment, so it becomes protected. So the only way that you're going to hurt the wire is if you drop something in between the pegs. So walking across it, keeping your trowel flat, those kind of things, you can't get into the wire at all. So those are what we like about using the Ditra Heat. So now that the wire is all in, I want to show, that's the end of the wire right there. You can't cut the wire to length, you have to use the whole spool. So it's important to get the right size wire for the space. The other thing, again, I mentioned earlier about the floor sensors. So the 2 small wires right there and right there are the floor sensors. You can see that they're centered between a wire run. And then over here is our cold splice. It's very important that the cold splice be located and bedded completely in thinset, because that's where the heat from the thermostat is going to start its dissipation. And so if the cold splice is not completely buried in mortar, in other words, if you put the cold splice in the wall, which they've seen many installers do, it can overheat your cable and give you a premature failure. So the entire wire is buried in the mortar. Our floor sensors are located. The end of the wire is located. We just don't have enough spool to heat the pantry or the linen closet. And then we ran out just a little bit short here. But the next spool up is about 10 square feet larger. And we don't have another 10 square feet of available heating area. So this is the closest spool that we can get for our space. So we did the best that we could to heat all that we can. You can see again that we got really good in front of the vanity and in front of this bedroom door where I'm at. I'll spin around here. You can see that the doorway is heated well. So all the heavy traffic areas are most definitely heated. And then of course back there by the stool. Right there you can barely see the top. That's the cold splice buried in the mud. Fully covered. That's what you want to see when you're doing a heated floor. Our tile installation over the heated floor is complete. I'll show you what the finished tile looks like, and then I'll splice in a video of a thermal imaging camera that I use. You can see what it looks like there as well. You can see the heated floor installation and see that it's working. Again, we got up to the toilet good. It kind of does have a little bit of a lag here. You can see in front of the tub, all the way past the bedroom, the main entrance here.